Proud to be Yorkshire.
Wes Butters.
BBC Radio Leeds.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome along. It's Wes, Monday morning, live till midday from Huddersfield and the Hoot Creative Arts Centre. There are, this is astonishing, 800,000 people who live with dementia in the UK. 25,000 of these live in our patch in West Yorkshire. So throughout this week on Radio Leeds, we're taking a closer look at the disease and finding out what life is like for people living with it in West Yorkshire, and looking at what it's like for carers as well, their family, their friends, and the help and support that's available in West Yorkshire. Over the next 3 hours then, we're going to spend some time with some of these people who are affected by dementia, find out how coming to this place, the Hoot Creative Arts Centre in Huddersfield, helps them and their carers. And we've got a panel of dementia experts from across the region who are chatting to us over the next hour, finding out their thoughts on everything from the cost of dementia, the standard of care, to supporting those living with it and receiving the support that they've got in the region. And if you or someone close to you is living with dementia, you want to tell us your story, their story, maybe the issues around dementia that matter to you or to them, would love to hear from you. The number, as always, is 0845 303 3333. That's 0845 303 3333. You can still call us. We can hear you here. We can take your calls. No problem about that whatsoever. The text number as well, if you want to text instead, 81333. Start your text with the word Leeds, and we'll be here as one of the sessions later for people living with dementia is held here at Hoot. It's called Breathing Space. It's a dance session, so we'll speak to the people who've come along and take part and find out how it helps them. And there's, apparently, it says here, talk of me. I've not heard of this talk so far. I'm just reading this for the first time. There's talk of me doing some dancing as well. Yes, well, stay tuned to find out whether or not that actually happens. 0845 303 3333 with your stories, your experiences of living with dementia, or the text number 81333, and start your text with the word Leeds.
Call Wes now.
0845 303 3333.
BBC Radio Leeds.
So, with me this morning at Hoot in Huddersfield, we've got Nikki Taylor. Morning, Nikki.
Good morning.
She's the Community Development Officer at the West Yorkshire Playhouse. She just returned back, actually, from America, where she's been studying theatre and arts projects, supporting people living with dementia and their families. And that's we say living with dementia, don't we? Not suffering from dementia. So what's the difference?
I think it's really important to make that distinction, because we can't judge whether people are suffering with dementia. It's only for that individual to judge what their position is. And we're not denying that living with dementia is a great challenge for people, but it's incredibly important that we don't impose our views on those people, and that we make sure people are aware that there is support to live well, right, and to still engage in meaningful activities in life that stimulate and engage people. So
please correct me if or any of the guests actually this morning come on and say suffering from dementia. I think it's just, it's a phrase that we use, and that what you're saying is it really, we should think again about using it.
Yeah, it's really commonly used, and I think there's a shift now. People are beginning to look at living well with dementia as a possibility, rather than looking at hopelessness, which has been in the media quite a lot of the case. That's what's been used in past years. All right,
so we're going to hear about your trip to the United States of America and find out more about that, because that's really has informed you a great deal about dementia. And Michael White, Operations Manager for West Yorkshire Alzheimer's Society. Morning, Michael.
Good morning.
And can you, first of all, Michael, I mean, what the Alzheimer's Society, give us the difference, if there is a difference, between Alzheimer's and dementia.
Sure. Alzheimer's is a disease of the brain, and Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. About 60% of people with a diagnosis have Alzheimer's disease, which is a form of dementia, a disease of the brain. There's actually over 100 different types of dementia, Alzheimer's being the most common.
Right. So give us the fundamental facts about dementia then. What exactly is it?
Okay, as I said, it's not a natural part of ageing. That's probably one of the most fundamental points.
So anyone, any age can get it.
Anyone at any age can get it. Yes.
Who's the youngest you know of?
The youngest that we're aware of with the society are people as young as 30 have been diagnosed with dementia. That's quite rare, and age is one of the most significant factors in terms of developing a diagnosis. But that doesn't mean that it's a natural part of getting older by any means.
Right. So describe to us what exactly it is then that's going on in the mind.
Okay, well, if you think...
Bearing in mind we're all laymen here.
Okay, sure. Well, one of the best ways we use to describe it is if you imagine the brain as a series of fairy lights inside your mind.
Fairy lights, right.
All firing off at different sequences, for different reasons, for different activities, whether it's your memory, whether it's making a cup of tea, whether it's getting dressed in the morning. And what dementia does is it upsets the rhythm and the pattern of these fairy lights twinkling within your brain, so that they don't twinkle in quite the right areas at quite the right time. And that affects various things. And one of the most common things to be affected is short-term memory loss, and then more progressive memory loss, but also things like people's perceptions, people's ability to make drinks themselves, to cook for themselves, to get themselves dressed and perform everyday living tasks.
And does it get progressively worse?
Yes, it is
in all cases.
It is a progressive disease. Yes, various forms of dementia will have different types of progressions. Where Alzheimer's, for example, might be very gradual progression, very gradual decline. Whereas something like vascular dementia, a different form of the disease, will be more of a step change downwards over different periods of time.
Right. Okay. And the way it manifests itself, you said short-term memory loss. Are we talking things that what are we talking about actually? Losing keys and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about I suppose loss of keys. We're talking about forgetting why you set out from the house that morning. We're talking about forgetting family and friends' names. Forgetting
a lot of people do that. I mean,
I
do that from time to time. I forget.
Sure, and I think everyone has their own pattern in terms of what their memory is like, what they tend to forget, what they tend to remember. And I think it's when people notice a certain stage in their life when those things are becoming more of a challenge and something's not quite right. I might very well forget my keys twice a week somewhere. Yeah. But if that's happening every single time I go out, I know there's something wrong and I want to go and get that looked at. Right,
okay. And we'll talk more about that because sure. I'm sure that quite a few people will try and write it off and think, actually, that's not... I don't need to go and seek help. It's not a problem. But I'm guessing you might say just go and check it out.
Absolutely, yeah. We'd always recommend go and see your GP, go and get some help, come to the Alzheimer's Society, loads of information on what to do if you think you are having memory problems.
All right, look, your stories of dementia this hour. We're live in Huddersfield at the Hoot charity this morning. 0845 303 3333 if you'd like to talk to us about your experience, your stories of dementia, living with dementia. Nikki, back to you then. You've just come back from America. Whereabouts were you?
I had quite an epic trip from New York through Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee, and then over to Toronto in Canada.
And it was all about, it says studying theatre and arts projects, supporting people living with dementia.
Yeah, I was awarded a Winston Churchill Memorial Trust Fellowship, which is a fantastic programme to send British citizens out across the world to increase their knowledge of their particular field. So for me, that was arts projects for people living with dementia and their partners and families. So I was incredibly fortunate to go and visit lots of amazing projects across the States and Canada, finding out how people are using creative activities to support the relationship between people living with dementia and their partners or caregivers. And it's been absolutely inspiring and wonderful in every way. So I've got lots of ideas that I'm going to bring back to my work at West Yorkshire Playhouse.
What's the most inspirational idea that you witnessed?
One wonderful project that I visited was in Chicago, where the Northwestern University are looking at using improvisational drama and storytelling to improve the relationship between people with dementia and their caregivers. So looking at communicating in a completely different way, accepting what people tell you and how they communicate with you through improvisational techniques, such as accepting anything that is said and say yes, and this is, moving on, agreeing with what somebody said, rather than challenging them on everything that they're getting wrong.
So instead of correcting them, and do you feel that's a better way of confronting it?
I think it's different for everybody, but in the cases that I observed, there were some really positive relationships being formed where people try to forget about the facts and whether they were getting the day of the week wrong or the name of somebody wrong, and trying to accept what they were communicating.
Is that not encouraging the disease, though?
No, I think it's encouraging good quality of life. I think, unfortunately, if you are living with dementia, you are used to getting a lot of things wrong and being told that you're getting things wrong. There's a lot of failure associated with the condition. And the more we can support people and make them feel better and have a sense of self-worth, then the better experience they have living with dementia.
And how does America differ from here? We'll talk to Michael from the Alzheimer's Society about how this country deals with dementia. How does the American government deal with it? Do they have lots of money to invest in this kind of area?
It's really interesting because a lot of the models are based on philanthropy, so they've had big donations from family trusts. Obviously, people pay for healthcare in the United States.
Well, exactly. It's notorious for making you pay for the care that you receive.
So I did see examples of people receiving really brilliant care and people receiving not so brilliant care if they weren't as wealthy.
What about people not receiving any care whatsoever?
I guess because I was looking for great examples,
Right.
I saw less
Didn't
of
see
that. But yeah, I'm sure that is out there.
Yeah. I mean, Michael from the Alzheimer's Society, Michael White, that would never happen in this country, would it? I mean, we have support here, don't we? We have support groups. We have the best quality of care and support available, would you say, in this country?
We have support available out there, but it is still far from sufficient in terms of what's needed out there for people living with dementia or even struggling with the disease, whether they're people with the disease or whether they're family, friends, carers and what have you. Nearly half the people in the country with dementia don't actually have a diagnosis at this point in time. Which is quite a shocking statistic, really. And we. So
I mentioned 800,000 people at
Sure.
the start. I said 800,000 people in this country have or are living with dementia in the UK, and you think the number actually is greater than that?
Well, no, that's the number of people that that the society has done through various surveys to find due to prevalence rates and what have you of the disease, that there are 800,000 people with dementia, but not all of those people will have a diagnosis. Right. So that's something that they are, as Nikki said, struggling with. Very confused about whether it's just getting old, struggling about what's going on for them in their life, what's going on inside their brain, and we're very keen that people do get access to the support via a diagnosis.
All right, well, look, let's grab some music, and then coming up, what it's actually like to go to the GP. I mean, you say go and get it checked out if you are concerned, if things are happening on a regular basis, you're forgetting things, go to the GP, but actually what happens when you make the appointment, you turn up, and what do you say, what is said back to you, what support is there, where do you go from there? We'll talk about that in a second. With us, Nikki Taylor from the West Yorkshire Playhouse, like I say, just been to America, come back, she's been out there seeing how they deal with and support people living with dementia in the United States. And Michael White, who's the operations manager for the West Yorkshire Alzheimer's Society. Plus, your stories, your experience, just because we're here live in Huddersfield doesn't mean I can still not take your calls. You can call in 0845 303 3333 and let's hear your experiences or your stories of living or caring for somebody with dementia. Again, the number 0845 303 3333. Sonny and Cher, I Got You Babe on BBC Radio Leeds, Monday with Wes. Thank you for listening. We're live today in Huddersfield at the Hoot charity. Hoot is the creative and arts centre here in Huddersfield. We begin this week a whole week discussing dementia, living with dementia, caring for people who have dementia. You can call me, by the way, just because we're live here today doesn't mean I can't take your calls. 0845 303 3333. Let's talk about your experience and your story of dementia. And Emily's called in from Pudsey. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your husband had dementia, I believe.
Yes, he did.
And you're not too happy with the care that he got. We were talking a second ago. Michael White is here from the Alzheimer's Society in West Yorkshire. Nikki Taylor from the West Yorkshire Playhouse
Can you talk a little bit slower, Louie? I'm a little bit hard of hearing.
Of course I can. We have Michael White listening, who's from the Alzheimer's Society.
Yes.
And we have Nikki Taylor with us from the West Yorkshire Playhouse, who knows a lot about living with dementia and supporting people with dementia. And you called to say that the support for your husband you found wasn't that great.
Oh, terrible.
What happened?
Well, I had, Tommy, I had him 6 weeks at home and it got gradually worse. And I was 89 and he was 91. And I found it so hard and I never got no help from anybody. I only got the nurse come once to put some ointment on a bed so that he had. And I was toileting and everything, and I didn't just know anyone. And eventually they decided to go into hospital. And he went into hospital, and they had him sat. His son took him in, and from 10 o'clock at morning till 10 o'clock at night, before he was sat on a straight-up chair, and it to hold him into the chair. And then he got into a ward where there was just six men, and it grew. And my daughter and I used to go see him from Putsey every day, and they rung me up from the hospital one night during the night and said, "Your husband's had a bad fall and he's cut all his head open, but we've given him a brain scan." And it got out of bed because they hadn't put the side up on the bed. And then we went another day, and he was sat without pyjama top. And we went another day, and it vomited all the way down him, and he was sat in it. And they sat him in a leather chair, and he was grimacing all the time, every time he moved. And eventually, he was in 6 weeks, and and a man in the bed across said, "Look at the back of his head," and he cracked all his skull open, and it was all bleeding. He said they didn't put the sides upon the night, and he's fallen out of bed. And we were sat one day, and they brought him some tea in a drinking cup, and when I picked it up, it was that hot that I couldn't hold it. I couldn't hold it. If he'd have picked it up, he'd have scalded himself. Eventually, they took him to a nursing home in Farsley, and there he was kept so beautifully clean, and it was Christmas time. And he was only in 9 days before he died. And the nurse who was in care of him said he has horrendous bed sores all the way up his back. He was so neglected. It was horrific to see, and it was heartbreaking for me. And he was just in 9 days before he died, but he was kept so clean, so beautifully comfortable, not sat on a hard leather chair all the time. It was amazing how but it didn't know us at all. It didn't know me for months and months and months at all. It was heartbreaking. And he was such a darling man.
What was his name, Emily?
Pardon?
What was his name?
Dennis, with one N.
Dennis?
Yes.
And you were married for how long?
Well, we'd both been... He was a widower and I was a widow, and we were married in 1971, and we'd been married 40 years.
Let me just ask Michael White here, because Michael's from, like I say, the Alzheimer's Society in West Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And let's find out, is that story that Emily's just told there, that's not typical, surely, is it, of the kind of care that's being received by people in hospitals?
Well, unfortunately...
In one hospital.
We're not going to name the hospital, but let me just find out, Emily, if it's typical, or if that's just a kind of unique freak set of a...
Unfortunately, it's not uncommon for people to have that kind of experience. There's a report from the CQC out recently called Cracks in the Pathway, and this has been through 129 different care homes in 22 local authorities, and found that in 98% of cases there is poor or variable care. And I think the variable care is something that Emily's story just highlights there, the fact that there's quite poor care, and then just at the end of her husband's life, she comes across a really good example, and may perhaps left feeling that, you know, if only that had been there earlier on in her husband's condition. It's unacceptable that there's this postcode lottery and this variability around the levels of care, whether in hospitals or whether in care homes.
Let me just bring in Emily back there, because she's still talking to us. Emily, we can hear you now.
I can't tell what that man's saying. I don't know what he's on about.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put you back to...
Listen, look, yeah. I am 92 now, and it's very hard for me to take things in if you talk like that at me, but...
What we'll do is, Emily, we'll put you back to Layla, who took your call in the first place.
All right.
And Layla's been listening right the way through everything that's been said, and she'll relay to you what's been said, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Stay safe. Thank you very much for calling, Emily. Appreciate it very much. Emily in Pudsey on 0845 303 3333. Now, you mentioned postcode lottery, which we're going to talk about because you talked about variabilities and the difference between going into hospital or going into a care home. We'll talk more about that. More stories as well. More of your experiences of dementia, living with dementia. 0845 303 3333 is the phone number.
BBC Radio Leeds.
Right, let's get some more music and then we'll come back and more stories of living with dementia. The number 0845 303 3333. You can text. I'd much rather you call in, but if you want to text 81333 and start your text with the word Leeds. Paul Young and Come Back and Stay on BBC Radio Leeds. It's Wes on Monday and the start of our Dementia Week.
Proud to be Yorkshire.
Wes Butters.
BBC Radio Leeds.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to Huddersfield and the Hoot Creative Arts Centre as we begin this week focusing on dementia. Hoot is a charity. It offers creative activities to people with mental health issues and basically promotes and inspires health and well-being. So that's why we're here today. They've got a special session on called Breathing Spaces, which is a dance session. So we'll learn more about that shortly. We're talking about this because it's reckoned about 25,000 people live in West Yorkshire with dementia. So we're taking a closer look at the disease and finding out what life is like for people living with dementia and what it's like for their carers and their family and friends as well, who are there to help and support them. So that's why we're here till midday today. We've got a panel of dementia experts for the first hour. We're chatting about everything from the cost of dementia, the standard of care, as we've heard Emily called in with some awful accounts of the standard of care of her husband Dennis, who had dementia, and right up to those organisations like the charities like Hoot, who are there to provide support and care for those with the disease. So the number 0845 303 3333 with your story, your experience as well, or text 81333 and start your text with the word Leeds.
Call Wes now.
0845 303 3333.
BBC Radio Leeds.
By the way, for more help and support on dementia, we've got this number and this website address as well. It's bbc.co.uk/action line. That's bbc.co.uk/action line. Or you can call this free phone number 0800 888 809 to hear recorded information. That's free from most landlines, of course. It's an 0800 number, but some networks, as you know, and mobile operators will charge you for that. 0800 888 809, and I'll repeat those phone number and website later on. Let's just come back to the panel then that we've got discussing, like I say, everything from its treatment and care to the cost of it. Also joining us on the panel, Richard Corton. Good morning, Richard. Welcome along to Huddersfield. He runs the movement sessions here at Hoot, and the one in particular that he's here for is called Breathing Space. Now, this kicks off later on this morning.
That's right.
What is Breathing Space?
It's a wonderful project run by Hoot. It's got 3 different elements to it, according to trying to bring in different art forms, and I've been doing a 6-week, in fact I've been doing this for a couple of years now, a 5-week phase of movement and dance, a couple of weeks break, and then another 5-week program of visual art, a 2-week break, and then a 5-week program. Because
what we're hearing about and why we're here today is because this kind of thing really helps people who are living with dementia.
Absolutely. And the research is quite, in my opinion, unequivocal, that the kind of benefits for people are to do with the social side, enabling people to come out of their homes and take part in being very much involved still actively in their communities.
Let me ask you why you've got involved in all of this. You've been doing this almost for 30 years now.
I have, and I still love it as much as I do when I started.
But why
Believe
did you
it or
start
not.
in the first place?
I had a dance training, and I'd begun working initially using dance with people with learning disability, and I got fat, and then moving on to active older people. In fact, it began in Yorkshire in 1986, working in for Age Concern, running large groups in a big community hall of about 60 people. I had a microphone on, and there were lines of people, and I managed to get them moving and enjoy it, because it was very different to how I'd been taught that one can run a session. But 60 people loved it, and that was at the time when Sheffield City Council had money to use involving artists and older people, and I happened to be a dance artist. And it went on into working with older people in day centres, and then in residential care homes, and then with people with memory problems, as I like to call.
And so Nikki is sat next to you, Nikki Taylor from the West Yorkshire Playhouse, who's just got back from America, having seen the kind of creative and arts projects that support people living with dementia in America. What do you make of what Richard and everyone here at Hoot are doing then? Is it quite similar to what's going on in America?
I think, yeah, there's similarities, certainly. I mean, Hoot is a fantastic space, and the work that they do is wonderful, reaching all kinds of different communities. But certainly dance for people with dementia has proven to be really, really beneficial. And I think that, any creative engagement for people, and as Emily's story told us, the emotional impact of dementia, not only on the person living with it, but the people who support them, there's this great need for people to have positive interactions outside of that feeling of just caring for somebody or being cared for. So creative arts activity is an incredibly powerful way to make opportunities for people to feel positive, to have joyful moments, to improve their communication and interaction with each other, and to see each other on different levels.
I guess if they know that this place is here for them, it exists, like Emily, who said there was no help there was nothing. The nurse came once, she felt there was no support whatsoever. And so it's about making, Michael, we'll bring you in, Michael White from the Alzheimer's Society, it's about making sure these people, like Emily and Pudsey who called in, know that places like this do exist, there is support and there is help.
Absolutely, yeah. There are lots and lots of different services. Hoot is great. There's lots of services all over West Yorkshire, which we run, and which lots of other charities and community groups run. So whilst it might be challenging to actually to get support and care through the kind of through official channels, there's lots of kind of community projects which can help people get support and improve their quality of life.
How do you make again, using Emily as the example, who thought there was nothing there for her and her husband, no support there. How do you make people aware like that there is support and help for them?
Well, you mentioned a helpline earlier. There are helplines through the Alzheimer's Society. There's the
But again, they wouldn't know that unless they, I guess, had the internet and looked it up. Should there be a way, for example, the GP, if you were diagnosed and the GP or family GP, shouldn't he or she say something like, here's the number, here's where you can go, this is the support that's out there?
Absolutely. And a lot of the work that we do is about engaging with GPs to make sure that GPs are familiar with dementia as a condition and what services are out there, and also what advice and support there's available. We do a lot of partnership with GP surgeries. Again, the experience that people get when they go to see their GP can be variable, which is unfortunate, but there are some great examples of people getting exactly the support and care that they need, whether that's medically or whether that's through charities and groups like this.
And variable, again, we'll come back to the postcode lottery that you mentioned earlier on as well. Okay. That's important. Michael White, the operations manager for the West Yorkshire branch of the Alzheimer's Society, and also Nikki Taylor from the West Yorkshire Playhouse is here, and Richard Corton, who runs one of the people who runs a breathing space here at the Hoot Creative Arts Centre in Huddersfield, where we're live today, but still taking your calls on 0845 303 333, your stories and experience of Alzheimer's, as we begin this whole week that focuses on dementia on Radio Leeds. And we go to Leeds now. June's there. Hello, June. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hiya, June. Thank you for calling in. And your story, your experience of Alzheimer's or dementia.
Well, I've had it. I think it's about, not quite sure, my memory's not right brilliant. I think it's about 15, 20 years I've had it, but I got it when not many people knew much about it, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what it was or anything. Now, it's taken quite a few years for it to all get gone down the line, and now there's loads of help down there. I go all over the place with Peter Smith, that's at Rothwell, and can you hear me? Hello?
Well, I can hear you perfectly well, June, yeah.
Right.
Hi.
No, well, I go all over. I go with Peter Smith. He does it up for Rothwell, Alzheimer's, and he's been on television, he's been on radio and everything. And I know Nikki, because I go to Playhouse.
Yeah, Nikki's just saying that she knows you.
Yes,
she recognises the voice.
Yeah, well...
How are you, June?
Hello. Well, I absolutely love it, and I love life now. Whereas before, you sort of in a little shell of your own, and you just sit there, and you don't feel like going out because you're so embarrassed to talk, because you talk a load of rubbish sometimes, and stuff comes out that you don't want to come out, and it makes you feel really embarrassed. Well, now I don't feel like that now. I feel I can go anywhere on my own. I'm not supposed to, but I do. I'm so independent. But I didn't have that. When they told me I'd got this silly dementia, and I thought, I haven't got it. I still deny myself I've got it. But I know I have. And June,
let me
Sorry.
Let me ask you about when you were diagnosed with dementia then. It's something I was talking to Michael about, that maybe GPs need to inform people when they're diagnosed that support and help, charities are here like Hoot in Huddersfield. What was the diagnosis like for you? How did that go, and was any of this mentioned to you at the time?
Well, my doctor quite good. I live at Putsey then. And it did a little test on me in the surgery, and then I went from the surgery. He asked me, he said, I'll refer you to somebody, and he referred me to a doctor down in Chapel Alton, and I was under him for many, many years until he retired, and he explained a lot of things to me about it, and how a lot of people have it different kinds of dementia, and he says, so far we found yours quite early, and we're keeping an eye on it, and it seems to be working. And I said, well, how is it? My other friends have got it, and a lot of them have passed away, and they've got angry and that. I said, I don't want to get angry. I just want to try and live a normal life. He says, well, you're doing what you can. He says, and try and help yourself by trying to keep your brain going, by writing everything down, even if you can't always understand what you've wrote, which I can't do. He says it does help you to remember stuff, instead of trying to think, well, what did I go in that room for, and what did I do this room for? You know, you've got it wrote down there, and you think, oh, I know what that was for, and you're away then. You see, it helps you, and it helped me in a lot of ways. And there's lots of little tests that you do when you go there, and then you go through this tunnel, and it takes your brain, and I says to him, I think you've got it wrong. I ain't got dementia. I said, I'm just getting old. So he says, no, you've got dementia. He sees part of my brain that's, I don't know, died or dark or something, I don't know. And, you know, as I say, I just accept it now. I tell everybody I've got it, and they don't believe me. But
it's funny because Nikki from the West Yorkshire Playhouse was saying something very similar about what she's just witnessed in America and the way they support people who live with dementia. You're acknowledging its existence, aren't you? I mean, you're saying, right, it's there, and we're going to go with it rather than fight against it.
Absolutely. I think if I can just point out how much June brings to the group, because June attends our sessions at the Playhouse.
What are the sessions called?
We have a new funding from the Paul Hamlin Foundation for sessions called Our Time, and it's for people living with dementia and their partners or caregivers to come along and take part in regular weekly activity that is creative and stimulating and inspiring. But that activity couldn't happen if people with dementia didn't come along and give us all their wonderful talents and skills that remain and that they can call on in creative activity. So June is just the most wonderful, creative person. She brings so much laughter and joy to our sessions. And she attends with her husband, Len, and it's just wonderful to have people like June there.
Yeah, it sounds...
People get written off when they've got dementia, and we shouldn't be doing that because people have so much to give, and creative activity really brings that out. It gives people a chance to shine.
Yeah, it certainly it sounds to me, June, I've never met you, but it sounds to me like you're trying to stay positive about this. You're actually embracing it, you know?
Yeah, I am.
Is there any part of it, I've got to ask, is if there is any part of you that is apprehensive about the future, that is anxious or scared even about what may come in the future?
No, I'm just living every day as it comes, and I accept life and I take it with full hands, and that's it. I go out, enjoy myself, and I don't want to be upset about anything. I just want to get on with my life. A life for living, and that's my way of thinking about it, you see. And I love life, I do. I love talking to people, being outside. I talk to people in the street because I think sometimes a lot of people, when I talk to them, they've not spoke to anybody because they're on their own. And just a quick word, hello, how are you, what's weather like, blah, blah, blah. And it makes a lot of difference to them. And a lot of people don't. They've stopped doing that now. They've stopped doing it. But up where we live now, they're quite nice. It's a lovely area. Lovely.
Lovely. June, thank you very much. Richard wants to say a word to you as well. Richard Courtin is here. He runs these sessions, or one of the team who run the sessions here at the Hoot Creative Arts Centre in Huddersfield. Yeah. One today that's just it's building now. We've got people arriving for breathing spaces. Richard.
June, I just want to say that your positivity, sat here on this couch with Nikki, who you know well, your positivity is just shining through here. And I'm sat here thinking, yes, that's exactly what the people of West Yorkshire need to hear. That dementia is a condition, it's a disability, we can learn different strategies to cope with it, but essentially being creative, going to groups, getting out there, being part of a dementia-friendly community, being positive is the best way. And when you were asked whether you were frightened about it, and you said no, and I think that's a wonderful message to hear, that all the people of West Yorkshire should hear that. It is something that you can learn to live with.
Like, it is, it's true. Sorry for interrupting you, but it is true. I do, I don't like to hear that people have kept in their houses and, want to go out. The carers take them out, and they'll be all right. They'll love it. They've got a life.
June,
live it.
Thank you so much for calling in, June. Really appreciate it. And keep listening, OK? Because we're live here all morning till midday. June in Leeds, calling in 0845 303 3333 and your calls throughout the show as well. We can take your calls or take your texts. 81333. Start your text with the word Leeds. Let me come back to Michael from the Alzheimer's Society. This postcode lottery then, because it sounds to me like June's having as good a time as possible under the circumstances. But for other people, and we've heard this with Emily's call earlier on, they can feel alone, no help. And you said there's definitely a postcode lottery when it comes to dementia. Sure. What do you mean by that?
Well, it really comes down to the experience that you get when you go to either a GP or you have a hospital admission, in terms of the kind of face-to-face experience that you have with the member of staff, the professional that you're working with, as to how aware they are of dementia and how aware they are of the services and and what comes next, really.
But you're not suggesting that there are certain places in West Yorkshire that are, say, notorious for giving bad support or bad advice or not so great care, whereas in other parts of West Yorkshire that postcode will be the antithesis?
Well, I think it more comes to light in the experience that people have. You hear different stories. You hear June's story, and then you hear a contrasting story like the one we heard from Emily earlier. It's more about really the people's experience, and I think it's rather than around geographical areas so much. It's more about the experience that they've had on a given day, and if that's early in someone's dementia journey, so to speak, then that can have quite a very positive or very negative effect either way.
It differs from GP to GP, hospital to hospital.
Absolutely, yeah.
In that way, right? Okay. And any final words of? Well, from you, from the Alzheimer's Society.
Yeah, it's just really nice to hear that June come on and describe her lifestyle and the way that she copes with that, and she's a great example of people living well with dementia, which is a really important point for us to make. And also that dementia is not, there's not just dementia about a person. There's a lot more to every person. And what we always say, that if you've met one person with dementia, then you've met one person with dementia, and that's it.
Michael, thank you very much for joining us. Michael White from the Alzheimer's Society, and Nikki Taylor from the West Yorkshire Playhouse, who's just come back from America, having seen theatre and arts projects over there supporting people living with dementia. You're going back out to Canada this time. Is that
Australia and New Zealand next.
Right, okay. It says Canada here, but Australia and New Zealand as well.
Indeed, yeah. But a little bit closer to home, if I could just flag up that if this Christmas people are looking for opportunities to have a positive creative experience with their loved one, then West Yorkshire Playhouse has got a dementia-friendly performance of White Christmas, which is the Irving Berlin musical. And we'd love to invite people with dementia and their families to come and enjoy that with us.
And when is that?
That's Tuesday the 16th of December at 2 p.m. You don't have to have dementia to come along. If you support dementia-friendly communities, like a lot of the wonderful organisations in Leeds do, everyone is welcome, and we'd love to see you there.
Thank you very much, Nikki. Thanks for coming down today to Huddersfield for this hour. And Richard as well, you're going to hang around presumably all morning because this is your session on at the Hoot today. Yes. Breathing space.
Yes, that's right. I'm really looking forward to it. People are already arriving, and it's the last session today for the movement and the dance side of it, right. And it's going to be fun. It's a lovely space and lovely people. We're going to
hear more about that. Richard Corton, thank you very much as well for having us.
Thank you.
Right, 9:58. Let's get your latest traffic and travel.
Radio Leeds.
Jess, thank you so much. Good morning. Welcome along. It's Wes on Monday morning, live until midday on Radio Leeds from Huddersfield at the Hoot Creative Arts Centre as we begin our week of focusing really on dementia. Hoot is a charity. It provides creative activities to people with mental health issues to promote and inspire health and well-being. And today they're running this breathing space session, which is a dance session. So we'll meet the people here for a dance later on and hear their stories of living with dementia. In fact, our real life story is just that. A husband and wife. Tony is the husband, wife is Jackie, and Tony has dementia. So their real life story coming up, and yours as well. Your stories, your experiences on this special show this morning.
Proud to be Yorkshire.
With news you trust.
BBC Radio Leeds.
It's Wes on Monday morning, BBC Radio Leeds. That's ABBA, of course, and Take a Chance on Me. Now, when I came in earlier, it was all right, actually. I mean, grey cloud and fairly miserable October morning, but apparently outside now it's chucking it down. It's not very nice. Anyway, we're inside. We're about to do some dancing later on. We're here at the Hoot charity in Huddersfield, which is a creative arts centre, and we're beginning this week focusing on dementia on Radio Leeds. And right here, they offer creative activities for people with dementia that inspires in them health and well-being, and this breathing space session that they're running today is going to kick off later on, so it will build up throughout the morning and people will come here and dance, and that will help them. By the way, let me give out that number again for more help and support on dementia. And you'll probably hear this quite a few times during the week as we focus this week on dementia. The website, first of all, if you have a pen, it's bbc.co.uk/actionline. That's Action Line. Or you can call 0800 888 809. That's 0800 888 809 to hear recorded information. That's free from most landlines. Some networks, of course, and mobile phones will charge you for that. 0800 888 809. Now, lots to come this morning, but let's do our real life story that we do at about 10:10 each morning. We meet today a couple who've been coming to Breathing Space here at Hoot in Huddersfield since it started back in 2012. Tony Garwood has dementia, and he's here now with his wife Jackie, and they're both here to tell their real life story. Jackie, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Hello, Tony. How are you?
Okay.
Are you well? Are you well?
Yes. Fine.
And he's not fazed by the radio at all because you've done the radio before, haven't you?
Yes, I've done several ones.
So you're not fazed at all with this one. Well, this is a very relaxed conversation about what it's like to live with dementia, and maybe you can describe it for us, Tony. What's it like?
It's difficult because I think it's the people that don't understand. That's the thing that might be difficult.
People don't understand.
But once people get going, it's really just the same thing, but a bit more. You know?
Jackie, people don't understand dementia. Do you find that?
Yes.
Yes.
people who are, you thought were your friends, they avoid it. It's a bit like,
What, friends avoid it?
Well, not, but acquaintances. People don't know always how to react. We've got some very good friends, don't get me wrong,
yes,
who are very supportive. But other people, I think people don't know how to react and how to deal with a person with dementia. I don't know whether they think they'll catch it or what, but there is an element of avoidance, and it leads to, loneliness, which is why coming to a place like Hoot is great.
And you've been coming here, like I say, since 2012
for
breathing space, which is, we're going to witness this for ourselves later. Apparently people come together and they dance their cares away. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, we come in on a grey morning, you feel a bit down, but you leave feeling a whole lot lighter and a whole lot better. We benefit, don't we?
We do. We do.
You look forward to it?
We do. Yeah, it's I'd say it's the high point of our week, and when there aren't sessions, at holiday times, we try and find something to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talked about in the last hour was kind of the support that's made known to you, that's made aware to you when you're first diagnosed with dementia.
Yes.
Does your GP, for example, give you leaflets and say, look, here's a phone number, or here's a website, here's a place you can go to? Did that happen when you were diagnosed? Did that happen?
No.
Were you made aware of all the support that was out there?
Eventually, but it wasn't. The GP was very supportive, but if I can tell you how Anthony was, if you like, start of his diagnosis, our daughter's a doctor, married to a farmer up in Northumberland.
Yes.
And Anthony went along to help with lambing, and she realised he couldn't follow sequential, simple instructions, and there was something wrong with his gait. And she said, Mum, you must take Dad to the doctors.
Yes.
Once we did that, our GP was supportive.
Something. And from then...
Did you know something? Did you realise something was wrong?
Yes. That made me think much more about it.
We thought we thought he was depressed at first,
but it wasn't.
But it wasn't.
You thought he was depressed, because something had happened, or?
Well, he used to be a university lecturer. He had to take early retirement. He tried a second career as a masseur, and we couldn't understand why a person with a PhD and a great understanding of science couldn't pass a relatively simple exam a written exam to become a masseur, and that highlighted that something was wrong.
Yes.
And you couldn't work it out yourself, Tony?
He thought that he was trying to answer the questions on the massage exams. He was fine on the practical, but that he was trying to give two scientific answers, but obviously he was missing the point.
Yeah.
So you have a PhD?
Oh, yes.
And all the qualifications?
Yes.
Can I ask you if you miss that part of your life?
I think when I was diagnosed, that was very difficult at the beginning. And getting the other people, getting people to talk with me, because I was struggling to get what I was trying to say.
And was it becoming harder?
Oh, yes.
Did you and you noticed it was getting worse?
Oh, yes.
And you clearly would have noticed.
Yeah, well, yes. It is.
You'd have seen this.
I'm afraid it is about loss. Is dementia, loss of skills. Anthony, to lose the ability to drive.
Oh, yes.
To read, to write, word finding, which for an educated man is very, very difficult.
Yes.
It's difficult for anybody in any case.
Are you his sole carer?
Yes.
Yes.
How is that on you, Jackie?
Well, it's hard because my children, I've got 3 boys in London and my daughter's up in Northumberland. And it is tough, and this is why coming to a place like Hoot is great. It brightens up our...
Yes.
I think I've already said.
Have you noticed, though, her Have you noticed a change in yourself? I mean, are you finding it difficult physically?
Yes.
Physically, I mean.
Oh yeah. In fact, I've got to have a CT scan this very evening because I've got breathing difficulties, and it does take a toll, I think, on people. Yeah, and it limits. I mean, sounds selfish, but it limits my life too because we can't go and do the things.
You can't nip out.
No, I can't nip out because I can't leave Anthony. No, it's all got to be organised so that for me to have the CT scan, my sister and her husband are coming to cook a meal for Anthony, help put him to bed while I go for the evening CT scan.
And how do you feel about that, Anthony?
Well,
I mean, constantly having the wife around. I mean, there's no getting away from her, no escaping, no quiet time. How do you feel about that?
At first, I didn't like it, to be honest.
We're not telling you something that you don't know already, are we?
Oh, no.
Well, that's it.
You didn't like it at first.
I didn't, but I had to accept that I had that trouble that was getting on more and more and more and more. And you've just got to get into it. I still love my people that I know. And the world goes on.
Do you worry about the future? That's something I asked a caller earlier on. I said, do you worry about the future? Do you have fears, anxiety about the future?
Everybody does when people get older, but everybody has to think about coming along. Well, yes, things you can't do things as much, and the things that you can't do is very difficult.
Do you fear for the future?
Yes, I fear for what care can be put in place. Yes, I mean it's quite.
What do you mean by that?
Terrifying looking round. For example, if we're realistic, round care homes, etc.
Well, because one day you think that Tony may have to go into a care home.
It is a degenerative disease, sadly, and we've talked about it, haven't we?
Oh yes,
it's something we fear. I'd love to be able to care for him on my own, but it does. I think it's taking a toll on my health. We do need support,
yes.
And I suppose reality is that someday that may happen. And it's
and your fear about that is what?
The quality, because I've made a little initial foray into looking at places. Some look great, others horrific, and I'm worried about the lack of training given to carers. They don't understand dementia. Lots of them are, youngsters who are doing a low-paid job. You wouldn't give a cancer sufferer a 16-year-old to administer the drugs and look after them.
Yeah.
But that happens in care homes, and it's a real, worry about what would we do.
Yes.
And obviously something. I mean, this is a message for the Prime Minister. He said he's got a war on dementia. I'd say to him, you're leaving people to fight their own corner.
Yeah.
We need much more joined up care. The process is difficult, finding, places, negotiating all the sort of different pathways to get help.
Yes.
We've had some great care from the community nurse.
Yes.
I have an Admiral nurse in place, but it's it's quite a difficult pathway, and it's a frightening prospect.
It is.
Well, I hope that you've got a long road ahead of you before you get to the care home.
Well, certainly, yes, thank you.
And yes. How many years have you been married for now?
We've been married for, this year it'll be 47 years.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Can't thank you enough.
We're together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't thank you enough for talking to us.
Yes.
And telling us rather your real life story, Tony. It's
Thank
great
you.
to meet you, Tony. And you're
Thanks.
staying around for a bit of a dance, a bit of a boogie shortly.
Oh, right.
With Breathing Space, which is the session they've got today, and they've been coming here every week since 2012 when it was first set up at Hoot. Jackie, thank you.
You're welcome.
For
There.
your story as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
We enjoy
There
you.
you go.
Hoot.
Thank you very much, Tony and Jackie Garwood, who are here today at Hoot. All right, Elton John, I'm Still Standing on BBC Radio Leeds with Wes, Monday morning, live from Huddersfield and the Hoot Creative Arts Centre. And what a powerful story we've just heard there from Jackie and Tony Garwood from Huddersfield, married 47 years. They come here each week, have done since it was set up in 2012. Tony's got dementia and Jackie's his full-time carer. Your stories throughout this morning till midday. We're on the air till midday. The phone number, you can call us. We can still get your calls, still take your calls, still hear your stories and your experiences of living with dementia. Here's the number, 0845 303 3333. Oh, Prokofiev and Romeo and Juliet. I love that piece of music. Now, let's find out more about where we are then this morning. It's called Hoot, the Creative Arts Centre in Huddersfield. Moira Wade is one of the people who organise these projects here at Hoot. And one of the many things that they've got going on is this session called Breathing Space, which is going to start any time now. Moira Wade, good morning, Moira.
Morning.
Welcome. So
Thank you.
Exactly, people are showing up
Yeah.
and milling about, getting ready for it to all kick off. When does it start?
It usually technically it starts at 10:30, but by the time they've dribbled in and had a cup of tea and had a chat with each other, it's more like 10 to before
So as
they
soon
get
as you
going.
finish this interview, it's going.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
on.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's get on with it then, and let me start off first of all by asking you about this great centre that you have, Hoot.
Yeah.
How did it start?
It actually started with two people, Phil and Kim, Phil Russell and Kim Gregory, who were actually married, and they started it about 12 years ago. Because of their own kind of experiences around mental health issues and what they found helpful for their mental health. And so Phil actually started it, and it started with one group that ran in Batley, and then over the years, we got more and more funding that made we could expand and make things bigger and offer more. And now we've got groups running all week.
So it's not just dementia sufferers,
No,
is it?
this is Breathing Space is the only group that's specifically for people with dementia.
Yeah, and that's every Monday, is it?
And it runs most Monday mornings. We do have little breaks, little half-term breaks and things like that, but mostly it runs on a Monday morning, and people can just ring and find out. Or we usually try and keep the website calendar up to date as well, so the dates when sessions are running around there.
One thing that we heard in the last hour when we had the panel was that people just don't know that these support groups, these charities exist. They're actually out there, waiting for them if they find themselves in that situation where somebody that they love or themselves been diagnosed with dementia. But
we find actually this group in Huddersfield now, we've actually got a short waiting list, so which is great because obviously we've got it means that it's going well, but we could actually we've got people waiting to come on, whereas we've got a group in Batley, so this has been running 2 years, and then we've excuse me again. We started a group in Batley, and we're actually struggling to get people to come to that. So you hear all the great things that people are saying about this group here, and there's opportunity for people to be enjoying the exactly the same thing in Batley. But we've been running on one couple.
But how do they get to hear about you? I mean, if you haven't got a marketing budget, which I can't imagine a charity would invest money in adverts or anything like that, because they need the money for other things. How do you get people to know that you're there for them?
Well, we are actually working on our marketing strategy at the minute, and as you say, it's difficult, especially for a charity, in terms of prioritising where your money needs to go. But we do have a really good working sort of relationship and partnerships with other organisations that offer that work with people with dementia. So we have a good relationship with the local Admiral Nurses, with the local Alzheimer's Society, with Making Space, which is another local organisation which offers support. and advice to people living with dementia.
And what about GPs and the NHS? Because that's what strikes me about it, is if when you're diagnosed, you're sat there with somebody who's being diagnosed, you have dementia.
Yeah.
You know, but here is a whole package here. A whole raft of charities, of groups, support groups that can help you.
Yeah.
That's there, waiting for you.
Yeah.
Rather than letting them leave and having to play detective themselves and try and find a place.
Yeah. Well, I think GPs are I don't know. It's an area where we've always kind of struggled. I think it's always been a little bit difficult to make inroads, and you know that's maybe just that they're extremely busy and one thing and another. But it is an area where we would like to develop a better relationship. And I think Admiral nurses and the memory team, quite often they have a member of staff that works alongside a GP. And so we try and develop, a relationship with them. But what people sometimes say to us is the people that don't really understand what we do, professionals, sometimes they think, they say things like, when a person's just had a diagnosis of dementia, the last thing they want to do is come dancing and singing, and because they're in a state of shock or they're not in a state of acceptance or whatever. And so I think it's a difficult position to be in.
Well, I tell you what, one free great big advert right now on the BBC, which is not a place conducive to advertisements, but Hoot, the creative arts centre that you've got in Huddersfield. For anyone listening now and wants to come along, is intrigued by either this place or the one in Batley, what would you say?
Well, they can either go on the website and just find out more information about us there, or they can just give me a ring. Just give me a ring and ask for Moira. Or
what's the website?
It's Hoot.
You don't know.
Hootmusic.co.uk.
Tell you what, we'll double check and we'll give that
Creative
out.
Arts. It's changed. It was Hoot Music.
We'll find it. Don't worry. We'll give it out even if you can't. Okay.
Or
listen.
Just ring me, and I'm happy
Moira.
to talk to
We've
anybody.
got all the details here. Listen, you can call us. We're still taking your calls, your stories, and experiences of Alzheimer's and dementia all throughout the morning through till midday. The number 0845 303 3333, and we can pass on Moira's phone number. I don't advise you giving it live out on the air. Moira Wade, thank you very much. Get to your session.
Thank you.
Breathing Space about to kick off. Let's go now and get your latest news headlines.
BBC Radio Leeds.
So for more help and support on dementia, you can go online to the website bbc.co.uk/actionline, or there is that number 0800 888 809. That's 0800 888 809 to hear recorded information, and that is free from most landlines, but as you know, some mobiles might charge you for that 0800 free phone number. 0800 888 809. The start of our Dementia Week on Radio Leeds. Wes with you live from the Hoot Arts Centre in Huddersfield. It's a charity here. I'm going to talk to Rob Crisp, who runs the music session on a Monday at Hoot for people who are living with dementia. First of all, thank you so much for texting 81333. Start your text with the word Leeds. You can call up with your own stories or experiences of dementia. H, first of all, in Farsley saying, Wes, hospitals cannot cope with people with dementia. They don't have enough staff to give the persons the attention they need. My gran had dementia. She passed away in March of this year after over 5 years of having it. My mum went every day to give Gran her dinner and tea as she didn't want to eat. She spent 6 weeks in hospital, then was discharged and passed away 1 day later. Thank you, H. No name on text again, 81333. Start yours with the word Leeds. My mum has dementia, Wes. She's now in a home. She worked on casualty for 20 years, then as a ward sister at St Gemma's Hospice for 10 years. She started off with mild memory loss and lived at home with my dad for ages, but the Alzheimer's progressed until the family had no choice but to get help. I take her to the Happy Cafe, Dementia Cafe, on a Friday in Hebden Bridge, and the staff and volunteers there, they are amazing. She still loves to dance and sing, but she can't do basic things. It's hard to see a strong, wonderful, caring person suffer like this. She also goes to a singing group on a Tuesday. People need to keep dementia sufferers active, as it makes the world of difference. Thank you for that. And more texts to come. 81333. Start your text with the word Leeds, or you can call me up. Love to hear you. 0845 303 3333. Right. In the background, you might be able to hear from time to time a bit of activity going on. And there will be some music there and people dancing away in a second. That is the Breathing Space dance session, which takes place. Richard Corton, who we spoke to earlier, he's now running that. One of the other activities they have at Hoot, and available to people living with dementia and their carers, is what's known as the music sessions. And Rob Crisp is here, and he runs the music sessions. Right, what's the difference then between the music sessions and the dance sessions then, Chris?
We sit down, so we don't have to move quite so much.
You just listen to the music?
No, we do lots of different activities. A lot of the stuff that I do to warm the group up does revolve around movement, and we'll do some drumming. We'll do vocal warm-ups. We'll do all the warm-ups that we do in one of the regular groups that we run here at Hoot, just to get people moving on a Monday morning. That's something that people tend to need.
What kind of music do you play?
We've done lots of Beatles songs in the past. Everyone knows Beatles songs, just without even knowing that they know them, which is really nice. But a lot of the time, I've always been really interested in the creation of music, because it's an ability that everyone has somewhere in them, and they've never necessarily used before, and they're not aware that they can write music, create lyrics, create melodies.
You think that most people could write music?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone. But anyone who says they're tone deaf probably hasn't had the opportunity to experiment with just making some noise and seeing what comes out.
So you have people living with dementia who are here for your music session, and they're writing music?
Yeah.
Where do you begin?
Well, we do a lot of reminiscence stuff. So what's really great is the other artists on the project, Richard Coton and Andrea, who does the art, all create amazing pieces of work, and we tend to bounce ideas off each other. So Andrea had created this big mural that got loads of different faces, and they'd made people on this big mural, and I was like, well, let's write some songs about people. So the group worked together to come up with these two characters who met and went dancing at Blackpool Palais and things like that. And my skill is to bring the ideas together, and I pretty much write down anything that they say. And any idea is valid in music. You can write a song about anything, and the skill is in bringing those disparate parts together to make a cohesive whole.
Yeah.
Which you'll probably hear in a bit, because they use the song that we wrote together to dance to.
Oh, really?
And
well, describe for us the group that have written this song. I mean, who do you have in the group?
I think one of the things that I've found from working with the group is that people's pasts and what they've done and been in the past has very little effect on what they are now. So there are people who used to be teachers, there are people who used to be housewives, there are people who used to be all sorts of different things, but what they are now is what they are, and reminiscences can take people back to something that wasn't even their previous life. Mm-hmm. It's living in a kind of... It's the creation of a narrative which artists do all the time, and is fine. You don't question an artist when it wasn't their lived experience.
How do you look upon it then, writing music with people who have to live with dementia?
Every day is different with this Alzheimer's patient. You have good days, your bad days, and then your funny days.
There are around 800,000 people with dementia in the UK. 25,000 of these live in West Yorkshire, and by 2040, the number of people affected is expected to double. Next week on BBC Radio Leeds, we'll be taking a closer look at dementia, what it's like to have dementia, and what it's like to be a carer.
Sometimes she knows me, and sometimes she doesn't. And she tries to talk, but I don't understand.
We'll be hearing from people who've recently been diagnosed, speaking to those who run support groups and memory cafes, and learning more from the people who are searching for a cure. A special look at dementia from Monday here on BBC Radio Leeds.
So, sorry about that. Apparently the line went down to Huddersfield. So there you go. Thank you for listening. Thanks for bearing with us. Wes here, live in... You'd be forgiven for thinking he's halfway around the world if the line goes down, but it's actually down the road in Huddersfield at the Hoot Arts Charity Centre, and they put on all these events for people who have to live with dementia. And we were talking to Rob Crisp, who runs the music session. I don't know at which point we dropped off the face of the earth and people couldn't hear us, but I was asking... how difficult it is really to get people to write music when they are living with dementia.
Levels of engagement can be quite different from different people. What's really important to me in the group is that we don't just have the people who are living with dementia, we have their carers as well. So there's a real social aspect to it, and people enjoy coming here on a Monday, not just for the activities that we provide and the things that we do, but because they get to meet other people who are having similar experiences, and they get to share some of those experiences and talk about them. And yeah, a social thing like that is really important for people.
It's as much for the carers as well, as it is for the people who are living with dementia.
I think so, because as much as anyone else, they are people who have experienced music in a certain way, which is often passive. So for those carers to learn that they can actually write a silly little song and a melody without being able to play a guitar or the piano, just sing a daft little song. If you can create that with someone in your own home and have that as your little thing that you do, then that can create a connection where there might have been connections that have been lost through other means of communication.
And they engage with that wholeheartedly. Do you record it for them?
Yeah. We always make sure that we do a CD at the end of the music sessions that have got all their stuff on, and then we've had people say that they play that in their car afterwards, and they'll both be singing along to the words that they wrote together, and it's a really special, amazing thing that I get to do as part of my job.
And that runs every Monday as well?
Well, we do. Like 6 weeks of art, and then 6 weeks of music, and then 6 weeks of dance, and it rotates around. So the artists get to feed off each other, which is really nice as well.
Fantastic. Let me ask you a question I should have asked right at the beginning, and that's why you, Rob? Why did you come to this, and why have you got involved?
I've worked at Hoot Creative Arts on and off for quite a while now, like 7 years or something. And my main job here is the studio coordinator, and I also run the Digisphere. Our other projects are for improving mental health and well-being, so we're an NHS commissioned service. We get funding from Kirklees Council as well, and all the stuff that we do is to improve mental health and well-being through creative activity. So a lot of the time I'll be doing music technology groups. We've got a guitar orchestra that runs, and people might be referred from a statutory service, or they might refer themselves, but people suffering with depression, anxiety, things like that can all come and hopefully get something out of being a creative individual, perhaps for the first time in their lives.
Great meeting you, Rob. When do you kick off with the music session?
I'm going to have a look over at Moira there. If you check our website at hootcreativearts.co.uk.
Yeah, what is the website?
hootcreativearts.co.uk.
Moira had no idea.
If you search Hoot Huddersfield, it comes up.
hootcreativearts.co.uk. Rob, thank you very much indeed.
Cheers.
And get back to this wonderful work you're doing. Rob Crisp here at Hoot in Huddersfield. We've got more text. Thank you for these. No Name saying, Wes, my mum has dementia along with heart and an arthritis problem. She's now bedridden as her hips have gone again and cannot be replaced because of her condition. Thank you for that. Alex says, Wes, my wife is in the early stages of Alzheimer's. I know it's going to get harder, but I don't know what help I can get, as I want to look after her myself. I hope that God gives me the strength to do this. Thank you, Alex, for that. So your stories and experiences of Alzheimer's, you can text 81333, or you can call. Still call. I can take your calls here live in Huddersfield, 0845 303 3333, live from Hoot. Michael Bublé, it's a beautiful day, although having a look out the window over Huddersfield anyway, it's a bit wet and miserable. So it's Wes on a beautiful day with Michael Bublé, and we're live today at Hoot in Huddersfield, which is this fantastic place that people come if they have mental health issues, or they know somebody, they're a carer, and particularly if they are living with dementia and Alzheimer's, because that's what we're talking about this week on Radio Leeds. We're reckoning about 25,000 people live in West Yorkshire with Alzheimer's. So much more to come this morning, and what do you know? At the start of the show, we picked Huddersfield as our place of the day today, and on the line now, let's talk to Michelle Hodgson, who is the honourable guest this morning. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning to you. Can I just say that
good morning.
A rainy day in Huddersfield is better than a sunny day anywhere else.
Yeah, well, no, we need our music here. Where's our music, our glamorous music? There we go, that's much better. Thank you for that. Back at base. Michelle, the honourable guest is what you are, but in everyday life you are the festival director of the Huddersfield Festival. Is that right? The Literature Festival.
Literature Festival, that's right, yes. Yeah. Every March we welcome big-name authors, local writers, poets, groups to events all over the town and surrounding area. We get some great response from the local people, really good support. And we're growing every year.
Well, now, just before we go any further, I wanted the glamorous music in the background. However, we might just want to drop that because you might be able to hear it in the background. The music and the dance session has actually begun here at Hoot. So there we go. You might be able to hear the harmonica in the background there. Have you been to Hoot ever?
I have.
Michelle?
I do know it because I also work with the Huddersfield Creative Arts Network, and one of the people involved in that is kind of related to Hoot. So, yeah, I mean, there's some fabulous initiatives all over the town, both creatively and business-wise as well. I don't know if you know, the Kirklees Business Conference starts today. The
Does it?
This week, yeah. So that's another thing that's going on right now this week, Kirklees Business Week, with a conference on Wednesday at the John Smith Stadium.
And have you always been in? Are you a native Huddersfieldian?
I have a very funny history with Huddersfield. I was brought up a bit all over the place. Midlands, lived in London a long time, born in the south. But after moving here 5 years ago, I knew I had some connections to the city. But I found out my great-grandparents were married here. My grandfather was born here. So I have long history going back to this town. And I don't know, maybe that drew me back here.
Gosh, who knows? And what about when's the next festival on?
Well, we run it every March, so it'll be the 5th to the 15th of March next year. We're just booking guests at the moment. We've got some really interesting people coming on.
Can you name some names yet, or not?
We can't really tell you yet because...
Oh, come on, Michelle.
I know. Some of them are still being confirmed, but also some of them are unique to us, which is
lovely talking.
Because
absolutely lovely talking to you, Michelle.
Lovely to talk.
We're going to leave it there because Kylie Minogue is now playing, and we have to leave it there. But Michelle Hodgson, thank you very much for coming on.
I've got to let you get on with Kylie. I wouldn't stand in the way of Kylie.
Kylie and Love at First Sight on Radio Leeds. Monday with Wes live today in Huddersfield. Jess, thank you so much. So good morning and welcome. If you've just turned on, it's Wes on Monday, live until midday from Huddersfield and the Hoot Creative Arts Centre as we begin this week, focusing on dementia. Hoot, if you've just turned on, you don't know what Hoot is. Hoot is a charity. It offers creative activities for people with mental health issues, basically just promoting and inspiring health and well-being. And today they're running a breathing space session for people living with dementia. It's a dance session, so we're hearing at the moment them setting up, them dancing away in the background there, and a musical session as well. We'll get more on that and more of your stories and experiences of living with dementia. 0845 303 3333 for yours.
To be Yorkshire.
With news you trust.
BBC Radio Leeds.
Thank you for listening. It's Wes on Monday morning, coming live from the Hoot Creative Arts Centre in Huddersfield, a place where people can come and take part in activities that will help when you're living with or caring for somebody with dementia. It's part of our week looking at dementia here on Radio Leeds. And with me now, a mum and a daughter who come here, and they've been coming here for about a year. Liz and Sylvia, they come along to what's called the breathing space session, which is happening right now in the background. They're broken off from all the dancing and the singing and all of that to join us now. Sylvia, good morning.
Good morning.
And hello, Liz. Thank you very much for dropping out of the session next door, which we can hear in the background there. So you've been coming here for what, a year now?
Yes, that's right.
And how did you? When did you first hear of Hoot?
Well, when Mum was diagnosed, I started going to a support group for carers of people with dementia, and I heard about the Hoot group, but obviously I couldn't attend because it's for people with dementia and a carer, and at that time I was working. But about a year ago, I took early retirement to help to look after Mum, and made inquiries about this group because I thought it would really suit Mum and I, and so we've been coming about a year now.
And it does.
It really does, yeah. We both like it, don't we?
And when were you diagnosed then, Sylvia? Do you recall?
Do you remember? No. It was, well, we had suspicions probably for about 5 years ago, but it took a while. At that time, Mum's blood pressure was very high, so the doctor didn't really want to refer her to the memory clinic till he really got her blood pressure stabilised, because he knew that they would dismiss her really until her blood pressure was stable.
Oh, really?
So she had complications at that time. So she's been diagnosed probably for about 3 years.
But you were forgetful. You had noticed signs.
Oh yeah, we had. But during that, for the first couple of years, her blood pressure was too high to be referred to the memory clinic, if you like.
Kind of limbo in a way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And what kind of symptoms was Sylvia showing?
She was definitely showing difficulty remembering things, weren't you? But she was also scoring very well on the memory tests, so that was quite difficult too. That the memory test that the GP uses and
really?
things. So yes, so that was quite hard for me to sort of show my concerns. But it was when I was saying things like what Mum was finding her parking was changing. She wasn't parking in straight in the spaces at home. She was very skewed, or she wouldn't close the front door of the car if the back passenger door was open, because she thought they would both touch each other.
Yes.
Things like that. Her spatial awareness was changing, so that's when the GP took me seriously, because as I said, the conventional memory tests like what's the name of the street next to you, and can you draw these shapes that I've got here? She did.
Sylvia, you were doing that, no problem. You were just drawing away, naming these names.
Yeah. So the GP took me seriously when I described what she was like in day-to-day life.
And was it hard? Did you find a pressure there that you had to place on the GP for he or she to listen to you and to take you seriously? Or were they quite receptive to what you were saying?
Well, once I'd sort of said what it was like in daily life, yes, he did. But yes, it was a bit difficult at the time, yeah.
So fast forward about a year ago, and you took early retirement to be the carer for your mum.
Yeah. At that time, when I was working...
what were you doing?
I was a teacher of the deaf. So, it was... a full-on job really, and didn't have a lot of time for Mum, and Mum was getting more and more isolated because you were very active, weren't you? You had a car and you had friends that before you got dementia.
Yes.
You used to go out a lot, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yeah. But you used to go to Halifax and all sorts of places, but we realised that you got lost coming home, didn't you? Like you went from Halifax coming home via Rochdale once, didn't you?
I did, yes.
So we realised.
So you haven't forgotten that, have you?
No.
What experience that was for you? Do you find it frustrating that you can't remember certain things?
Yes,
though?
very frustrating. Yes.
Does that upset you?
Yes. And sometimes I'll say something to Lizzie and she'll give me the answer, and I've forgotten what the answer was, so I find myself saying the same thing again.
Yeah.
And I think, what's going on? Something's not right. But I couldn't put my finger on it.
And what was life like, Sylvia, before all of this? So when you were working, what did you used to do for a living?
Do you remember what you used to do, what work you did?
I worked for a company. What was it?
You were a bookkeeper, weren't you?
A bookkeeper. Yeah, a bookkeeper. Yes.
Yeah, so you were very good with figures, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it came as a
an awful shock to find I couldn't remember things.
And you notice yourself. I mean, you could tell something was slightly wrong.
Yes, I just hated it. I sort of withdrew within myself and didn't want to do anything because I felt that it was wrong, that from being very active and doing things, and I'd lost all confidence and I just wanted to go and hide.
I mean, 20 months ago probably, just before Mum's birthday, she would be ringing us up a lot of times a day to say what day is it. So we bought her a day clock, which is probably a A4 size, which says Monday and then the time, and then at the bottom is the date.
And did you find that helpful, Sylvia?
No, I don't think I did.
Yes, you do. I do. You do. But originally you used to then ring us up and say, what's the date? And when we have to say, well, where's your clock? We just have to remind you where the clock is.
Oh, yes.
It's near your television, the clock.
I know, but I used to hide it without really meaning to hide it. I would put the book on top of it and I couldn't see it.
See, she's a bugger. She's a bugger.
Well, how do you feel about your daughter calling you that on live radio?
I think that's terrible.
That's outrageous. Awful. Let me ask you about Hoot then. You come here each week. Sylvia, describe Hoot and the impact it has on your life each week when you come here.
Oh, well, I didn't want to come to start with. She had an awful job to get me here.
Yeah.
Do you want to call her a name now?
Go on then.
Back in the day? No, don't do it.
But when she eventually got me here, I realised that I wasn't the only one that was feeling so awkward.
How you were feeling?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
true.
I sort of then started to relax more and not fidget as much as I had been doing. And really, all told, it made a huge difference to my life.
Do you look forward to it?
Yes.
What do you most like about the session?
Well, I never know. Well, to be honest, I never know what we're going to do. But I mean, once we get here and they describe it and I get involved in it, when they say it's 12 o'clock and I say, well, it can't be, I've only just arrived.
Goes too fast for you?
Yes, but I enjoy it very much.
But we also talk about it during the week, don't we?
We do, yes.
And we've got the CDs of the songs we've made in the car.
Yes.
And you sing along to those.
Yeah, that surprised me because I'd never credited myself any good at singing.
This is something that we heard earlier on with Rob, who runs the music session that they have.
Yes.
That people who aren't musical are able to then, with his help, write music, perform it, and record it, and then have it to keep on the CD.
Yes.
Were you musical anyway? No?
Were you musical?
Well, I enjoyed listening to music and to plays that had music in it.
But I bet you never thought that you'd one day write music.
No, I did not.
Write a tune.
No, I don't think I have.
And sing along on a CD.
No, definitely not.
No.
And for you, Liz, what's it like? What does Hoot mean to you as well, as your mum's carer?
I think it's fantastic. It's really good. It's something that we both enjoy doing together. I think it's been lovely to see Mum enjoy the sessions, and I've enjoyed it. It's an activity we can do together, meeting new friends, and seeing not just Mum enjoy things, and seeing her develop new talents too, in music, in the movement, in visual arts, but seeing other people in the group develop too, I really love it.
Well, look, the music is off again. The dancing has begun, has recommenced. Let's get you off that sofa and dancing again. Thank you very much for talking to us. I really appreciate it.
Right.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you, Sylvia.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Liz. There you go. Mum and daughter, Liz and Sylvia, who've come along. And they come along each week and they love it. Breathing Space, the session that they have on a Monday here at Hoot in Huddersfield. That's where we're live from today. More to come, more stories. In fact, your stories and experience as well. If you want to share those with us, by all means, call us up. Here's the number again. It's 0845 303 3333. Free, of course, all right now on Radio Leeds, Monday with Wes, live today at Hoots, this charity, the Creative Arts Centre in Huddersfield, and what you can hear maybe in the background, have a listen. Can you listen to that? Can you hear that? That is the music and dance session that's taking place next door to where we're broadcasting from. This is where people come and they bring the carers or their relations and they take part in various activities that will help them or help the carers when they're living or caring for people with dementia. So that's what's happening right now. That's what we can hear in the background. If you want more help and support, by the way, on dementia, and I've given this out a few times this morning, I'll give it out again before the end of the show, but for more help and support on dementia, just go online to bbc.co.uk/action line. That's bbc.co.uk/action line, or you can call this number to hear information, 0800 888 809. That's free, as you'll guess, with the 0800 number, but some networks and mobile operators might charge you for that. Again, 0800 888 809. Hey, listen, thank you so much for calling. There is still time. We're on the air till midday, and then Martin Kellner on from midday, and we're live here. But that doesn't mean we can't take your calls still. Your stories and experiences of living with dementia or caring for somebody with dementia. 0845 303 3333 is my phone number. Get through directly to me live in Huddersfield this morning. Let's go over now across West Yorkshire to Rothwell. Sally is there. Good morning, Sally.
Hi.
Good morning. Thank you for calling, Sally. And I'm being told that you and your husband, you both go to a dementia cafe in Rothwell.
Well, we go to the Tea Cafe, which is run by Liz and a husband, Peter, and they're very caring. And they're very passionate about what they do. Me and my partner, Mark, are very passionate about people with a dementia. So it's close to both our hearts.
Yeah. Can I ask, do you have dementia, experience of dementia? Is it your husband, Mark? Does he have dementia or not?
Well, it doesn't have a dementia, but people that are related did.
Right.
Are related.
So that's why you go along.
Yeah.
And describe what it's like there as well, for anyone listening in the Rothwell area who's never been to this dementia cafe. Why is it so different? Why is it so special?
Because the people who work there and go there are the people that are very special. And they make.
In what way do they make it very special?
Included. Because they include them and they make them at the breakfast, and they give the people with dementia a place to go when they don't have any of the family left. So they give them a place to go, and they give them at the breakfast.
How often do you go with your partner, Mark?
Well, we go once a month.
Yeah. Do you look forward to it?
Well, we do, yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. Sally, thank you for the call. Thank you. Sally and partner Mark in Rothwell go along to that dementia cafe. So we do have these places across West Yorkshire where you can go. If you have Alzheimer's, dementia, then you can go along. They have got support for you. But what we were hearing in the first hour of the show, especially from Emily, do you remember, were you listening earlier when Emily called in and she said that when her husband was diagnosed, I think they were married for a long time, was it 47 years or was that somebody else? Married for a very long time. She said there was no help there when he was diagnosed, no help whatsoever, no support there. And maybe it does come down, and maybe you've got a story about this, but it comes down to the GP or whoever diagnoses it saying at the time, look, you have this or they have this, but that's not the end of the line, because there's all this support there's all this care out there. There are charities like where we are today, the Hoot Creative Arts Centre in Huddersfield, where they have these events on, these activities, these events where people can come and take part, and that helps with them who are living with dementia, or indeed their carers, as we just heard then with Liz and Sylvia, her mum. So look, thank you, Sally, for that call. We've got another call coming up. Your call as well before midday, your experience or story of living with dementia. Again, the number 0845 303 3333.
BBC Radio Leeds.
Clive, thank you so much. So, good morning. Half an hour away from Martin Kellner on the air, back on the air at midday today. It's Wes, live in Huddersfield today as we launch our Dementia Week, looking at dementia throughout the week on Radio Leeds, because apparently in West Yorkshire we've got 800,000 people, they say, living with dementia in the country, but 25,000 living in our patch in West Yorkshire. Terry has called in. 0845 303 3333 is the phone number. Terry, good morning in Bradford.
Good morning, Wes.
And so your wife will be part of that 25,000, is that right?
Yes. My wife, there was concern with my wife when she was working part-time way back in April 2004, and she was checked for dementia, and it wasn't particularly defined because it's not definitive. But then things got worse until February 2010. I went to our GP. He referred us to specialists, and it was confirmed that my wife was suffering from Alzheimer's. And the best thing that my wife and I ever did was to attend a carers workshop run jointly by Carers Resource and the Alzheimer's Society. This would be 3 years ago. It was a 5-week course, 1 day a week, where I met up with other carers. And we got so much respite from comparing notes that at the end of the 5 weeks, we said we must continue meeting on an ad hoc basis in a cafe somewhere. And I said, no, I'm going to use a word I don't like using. We need to be empowered. And at that time, Dr. Elizabeth Milwain, who's a psychologist who specialised in dementia, she was involved, and then she started the memory clubs. And from that, we still meet. I still go to 2 or 3 memory clubs, and at these clubs, those with dementia, they have cognitive therapy, and we carers meet together, and we learn so much from each other, and we realise we're not alone.
Do you meet with those, you take along those that you're caring for as well, or is it just the carers that get together?
No, we take our partners along with us. We all sit together for the first half hour, just having a coffee and a cake or something, and then we separate, and those with dementia, they get the cognitive therapy, and we carers meet in a separate room and try and get up to date with where we are and where we're going.
You can hear the music that's playing in the background there. They're all singing and dancing along. There's a special session that happens here each Monday called Breathing Space. But Terry, tell us about your wife. What's her name?
My wife's name's Dorothy. We've been married 52 years. Excuse me. At the moment, she's in hospital because 6 weeks ago, while she was at respite at Woodward Court in Bradford, they thought she was suffering from a stroke. Unfortunately, she lost mobility. That came back 3 weeks ago. She's still in PRI. She's now classified as medically fit, but the Alzheimer's has really kicked in, and I'm now in the process of locating a suitable home for her, and that is a minefield.
Yeah, because you've been dealing with this for over a decade now, is that right?
Yes.
And now is the time that you've thought the care home is the way forward.
That's right. And at that early workshop 2-3 years ago, myself and another carer called Margaret, we both said, oh no, we'll look after our partners, we'll do it. We're not going to let them go into respite. Well, both Margaret and I are living to eat our words. And can I just say that prior to coming on air, I did read out the Alzheimer's prayer to your producer, Lola, is it? I said to her...
Layla, yeah.
Layla, it's 2 verses. One refers to the person with dementia, the other one refers to the carer. And we carers, we refer to this incorrectly as our Bible, because it embraces all the emotions that we go through as the partner goes deeper into Alzheimer's.
And let me ask you, Terry, what's changed then in those 3 years when you were so adamant 3 years ago that you would look after your wife who has Alzheimer's, but something's changed now. You are thinking seriously about the care home.
Yep. I've got to a point now. I've got to look after myself. I can't do any more. Dorothy needs community care more or less 24 hours a day. And I must say that the BRI, she's in a stroke ward. She hasn't suffered, well, they can't locate the stroke, but the nurses there are fantastic. They are really dementia friendly.
And what's the toll like on you that very important decision is taking on you, Terry? Who's there to care for you?
I have two wonderful daughters. I'm personally now suffering from depression, which I'm seeing my GP about again in a week's time. It's hard to put it in words. It's as though something's been pulled out. I'm now a different person. I'm going through the motions. I know I'm doing what I have to do, but I don't like doing it. I don't know if that describes it fully or not.
And the depression that you've subsequently felt and are experiencing since the wife has been on this journey of Alzheimer's, how does that manifest itself in you?
It makes you feel lonely, by yourself, lost. In fact, may I read out the final verse on behalf of the carer?
Please do.
She is gone, the girl I love, but where? I can only hope she is happy there. I'll never know, she can't tell me. There is just an occasional smile, and she is back just for a while. For a moment the gap is bridged, a fleeting glimpse, then she's away. I know now she will never stay. Sometimes it gets too much to bear, and no matter how I try, I finally break down and cry. But like us all, I live in hope that at the end of all the pain, I'll find the girl I love again. That sums up my emotions for my wife.
Thank you for calling, Terry.
Nice to speak.
Appreciate it very much. You too. Thank you. 52 years married to his wife. 52 years married and living with dementia for over a decade. She was diagnosed back in April of 2004. Was it April 2004? Over 10 years later. And now, bless him, he's having to look at the care homes. Thank you, Terry and Bradford, for that. More calls if you want before midday. 0845 303 3333. But right the way through the week, of course, we'll be discussing dementia in a special week here on Radio Leeds. Now, you can hear some music in the background. That's, I think, is that the Beatles that they're doing in the background there? For Breathing Space, this very special session at Hoot, the Creative Arts Centre in Huddersfield, where today we're coming live from. Now, let's get some more music on our show. Here are the Thompson Twins, Hold Me Now. Lovely, Thompson Twins, Hold Me Now on Radio Leeds. Wes on Monday, live from Huddersfield at Hoot. And with us now, the Chief Exec of Hoot, Phil Russell. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for having us. It's been really such an eye-opener this morning that these places exist. They're out there for people who are living with dementia or caring for people, of course, with dementia. These places are there, but it's all about getting the word out to those people, isn't it?
Yep. Absolutely. I think I heard Moira talking to you earlier, and she was saying that it's one thing putting creative services on the ground. It's another thing actually encouraging people to come. So, a lot of what we've been doing at Hoot over a number of years now is trying to break the mould as to how we can be creative and imaginative about offering stuff to people that maybe the mainstream services aren't able to offer. So, yeah, brilliant to see such a buzz going on down here today. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. What a great place, and it's busy here. Is it always this busy on a Monday?
Yeah, it's been a kind of growing storm. I think again we started off quite quietly. What we do in the third sector, I think, is to try and experiment and take a little risk in terms of what might be possible in terms of delivering maybe more imaginative, more creative services for people. And so what happens is that when you break the mould, it often starts off a bit slowly because people are saying, I don't really get what this is about. painting or what's dancing got to do with these very serious issues. But I think, for a number of years now, that's what we've been trying to do, is say, well, maybe let's not concentrate quite so much on what's difficult. It's not that that's not important. It's not that people don't need the right levels of support. But let's try and concentrate a little bit more about what's actually positive and what people can achieve, and opening up their imaginative and creative capacities.
Yeah, and you're a charity, of course, which means, I guess, money is rather a topic that, it's tough for you.
Yeah, we're a charity, and to be fair, over the last 10 years we've done reasonably well in terms of steadily growing, but it is a struggle for all third sector organisations to keep the money flowing and the money coming in that allows us to pay for our artists who deliver such kind of wonderful services day in and day out. We're kind of in Kirklees. We're quite lucky in that. Without getting too technical, the people who commission services for people with mental health needs, and now for older people as well, are, I think, trying really, really hard to commission creative, imaginative services. So unlike many areas of the country, they do commission us to deliver a lot of these services, and that's good. And we're also lucky enough to enjoy the support of the Arts Council in the last 3 years. So there are places that you can go, and there is a lot of positive spirit. But all of this is set in a context when, in general, funding for the arts, in general, funding for the public sector, in general, funding from the third sector is a dwindling pot. So it's quite a competitive world that we operate in.
And you're catering for both arts and, well, it's primarily care and support, clearly, but also doing that through arts.
That's right.
It's a double whammy for you if we're talking about cuts.
Exactly.
Phil, hang on there, because Chief Exec of Hoot, which is the place where Catherine and her husband Stuart come every week to breathing space. Catherine, good morning, welcome.
Morning.
Are you local then? Are you living in Huddersfield?
Finsbury, Colne Valley.
Right, okay,
Yes.
you come here each Monday.
Yes.
What do you make of it?
Oh, it's wonderful. Gives you an uplifting feeling for the rest of the week. You forget all your troubles and you enjoy it without, because it's like a family.
Yeah.
Yes, and if somebody doesn't turn up, you miss them quite honestly.
Do you?
Yes, yeah.
And we've dragged you away from the dancing and singing, although that has stopped now. Do you have little breathers?
We do have little breathers, yeah.
What the breathing space is.
Yeah, breathing space.
But what kind of we heard the Beatles there a second ago. Just describe for us what you do when you go into the next part of this room.
Well, when we come, we have a warm up with Richard to get us all going, and then we just dance and we do whatever we feel like, make a fool of ourselves if you like.
Really?
But you know what I mean. It's wonderful. Yeah, you forget all your inhibitions. You know.
Do you?
Yes. Well, not all of them.
Steady on. Now, sadly, we haven't got a microphone on Stuart.
Well, Stuart doesn't speak very much.
Right.
He'll say yes and no. Not always in the right place, but
right.
Yeah.
He's
But he does enjoy it. He has a laugh. Wherever we go, any place we go, because we go to other places as well, singing for the brain. If he recognises someone, he laughs. He has a laugh. He's known as a laugher. Everybody knows him by his smile, the smiler. Yes, and Richard that comes, another person that comes with someone, is wonderful with it. But they're all wonderful.
He's looking very dapper with his.
I found that.
bow tie
I found that, and I forgot to bring it last week.
I love it. I love
do
the
it
bow
with the
tie.
dancing. Yeah.
Love your bow tie. It's great.
Yes.
And would you mind if we talk about the dementia? I mean, that's obviously why you're here with Stuart,
Yes.
who is living with it and not suffering. I mean, we made that point right at the beginning, and forgive me if I've said that at some point along the way, but people do say suffering with dementia when really it's all about living with dementia, isn't it?
Dementia's a horrible word.
You don't like that word either?
No, I don't like the word either. Dementia. You're not demented. I don't like that word.
How would you describe it?
He's got vascular dementia, which is a different one as well. He hasn't got Alzheimer's.
How would you like to describe it, or have it described?
Well, he's not the man I married. You know what I mean? It's just a downhill. And I thought when he'd had his triple bypass, it would be fine, but things started happening, and it's just little things. Looking back, I can probably go back further than when he was diagnosed, officially, that little things falter. He can't do anything for himself, really. Not a lot. I have to wash him and dress him and do everything for him, really. He can feed himself.
That's going to be tough on you as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Physically
but he's
and
my
mentally.
husband. I love him. That is my husband.
Well, yeah, but you said he's not the man you married.
No, he's not the man I married, but...
When did you marry him?
It's his 50th wedding anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
November 28th, yes. Yes.
So he's not the man you married back then, but you still.
No.
But I was going to point out, but you still love him.
Of course I love him.
He must be
I
in
love
some
him
way
to
stuck
bits. I
around.
love him to bits. Yes.
Who's laughing? Is that you laughing out loud?
That's him, yeah. That's what he does because he's happy.
Yeah.
So it's they don't know there's anything wrong with them. So which is a blessing. It's us that takes it all, I'm afraid. But it's places like this that help us.
Yeah.
A lot. I can never, I mean, I didn't know about this place till I saw an article in the Examiner, the local paper.
Well, it's here.
And it's here and it's great.
Like I said earlier on, done one great big advert, even though the BBC isn't conducive to advertising.
No.
Hoot is here in Huddersfield,
here, yes.
and it's open for people like
Yes.
Stuart, and of course yourself
Yes.
as well, the wives, the carers.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Okay.
for talking to us.
Thank
there
you.
go. That's Catherine and Stuart. Also, Phil, thank you again for having us here today, the Chief Executive of Hoot. So we've been here live in Huddersfield all morning talking about what it's like to live with or care for a loved one with dementia. Here's just one of the stories that we've heard today. Take a listen. Yeah, good morning. Welcome along. It's Wes, Monday morning, live till midday from Huddersfield and the Hoot Creative Arts Centre. There are, this is astonishing, 800,000 people who live with dementia in the UK. 25,000 of these live in our patch in West Yorkshire.
I had him 6 weeks at home and it got gradually worse. And I was 89 and he was 91. And I found it so hard, and I never got no help from anybody. And I was toileting and everything, and I didn't just know anyone. And eventually they decided to go into hospital.
And I love life now. Well, before, you sort of in a little shell of your own, and you just sit there, and you don't feel like going out because you're so embarrassed to talk. Because you talk a load of rubbish sometimes, and it makes you feel really embarrassed. Well, now I don't feel like that now. I feel I can go anywhere. I'm so independent, but I didn't have that.
It's difficult because I think it's the people that don't understand. That's the thing that might be difficult.
About a year ago, I took early retirement to help to look after Mum, and made inquiries about this group because I thought it would really suit Mum and I, and so we've been coming about a year now.
And it does.
It really does, yeah.
When she then eventually got me here, I realised that I wasn't the only one that was feeling so awkward.
How you were feeling?
Yeah. Yes. I sort of then started to relax more. Well, really, all told, it made a huge difference to my life.
Do you look forward to it?
Yes.
That's exactly what the people of West Yorkshire need to hear, that dementia is a condition, it's a disability, we can learn different strategies to cope with it, but essentially being creative, going to groups, getting out there, being part of a dementia-friendly community, being positive is the best way.
So thank you for listening. It's been Wes live from Huddersfield and Hoot. Thank you so much to all the people who we met today, the people living with dementia, the carers, the wives, the husband, those who called in throughout the show, as well as we look all week long on Radio Leeds at the issue, the topic of